is where everything goes really weird. In walks this friend and sees me with an Indian. Now, he's not got much time for my relationship with Indians. He thinks that I put them on a pedestal and I need to be brought back down to earth where Indians are concerned, and here I am again. And I guess he had designs on me that I didn't realize at the time as well, so maybe there was some jealousy in there too as well, although nothing was happening. And he just, before I've known it, he comes in and he's got some food, and he's bundled up this bunch of food, and he suddenly grabs this guy. He says, "Okay, time to get you on the way," and he bundles him out of the door. He's taken off his, he got a really lush sweater on. He's taken it off. He's given it to this Indian, a really posh sweater, and he's got him out of the door, and in the car, and they're gone.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it happened so fast. I mean, it maybe sounds ridiculous that all this could happen, and I'm just sitting there, but I'm not a person who reacts fast. I'm more like, I can look back now and say with a laugh, I'm more like an elder in that I need time to digest things, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm with someone who's a psychologist and a budding lawyer and who's got the gift of the gab, I'll be left in his dust, and that's just what happened. This guy, this so-called friend of mine, and I mean, this was the death knell of our friendship, had him up and he was gone. I mean, the exchange with this guy had been so profound. He even said to me, when I get back home, he says, "I'm going to send you some wolf ties for your hair," which was quite long then. And he says, "Woman like you on her own should have a wolf." And I hadn't told him that my soulmate, my totem, is wolf, you know. I mean, he twigged onto so many things. Anyway, there he was gone. And I mean, I was so, you know, I don't know where this so-called friend of mine dropped him off to carry on hitchhiking up the valley. But I was really concerned for him because I knew there was a lot more redneck activity further up the valley, and he'd already been clipped by a car. I mean, I can't imagine why somebody would go so close to hit somebody. And I was really concerned for him. So anyway, friend came, friend left. I was really upset at him. And the next couple of days I was really worried. And then I had some night's visitors. And we were sitting out on the deck having some coffee. And it was a couple of new guys I was meeting, and the phone rings. So I go in and answer the phone, and it says, "Collect call from a Michael. Will you accept the charges?" And I go, oh yeah. So the voice comes out, "Woman, quit worrying about me. You're heavy on my spirit." I said, "Well, I am worried." He said, "Don't you worry about me." He says, "I walked up that highway. Creator put 3 bears at my back. He gave me strength. I'm fine. I'm going to help some sisters who are being taken off for prostitution by their white sisters." He says, "I've got to go help them now, and that's my work now." Then he says something like, "I hear and I feel the pain of my people. I feel the pain of my people," something like that, he said. And just at that moment, on this blue sky day, hardly a cloud in the sky, I look outside and I see one cloud, and it's in the shape of a buffalo. And then the next moment there's a great rumble of thunder. And then he says, "I'm a spirit walker." I said, "Oh." He said, "Do you know what that is?" I said, "No." He said, "When I sleep, my spirit walks. Know that you'll always be taken care of." And then he was gone.
Wow. That story just epitomizes the path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, when you're walking the good red road.
Yeah.
Awesome story. Do you still think of him from time to time?
Oh, I'm still not so heavy on his spirit.
Yeah, good.
I hope I'm light on his spirit, but I certainly do. Yeah. You write a book. I mean, I spent 8 years writing that book, not full time. I mean, it sat on the shelf for 2 or 3 years at a time because I had to go through a maturation. I go further along on my path before I could really pull it all together and find the whole thread holding it together, which of course was my own path, was to thread through all of these extraordinary incidents, you know. So I revisit these people, all of these people, all the time. I don't know if you know this, but I'm invited now on average once a month, sometimes twice a month, all over England to do presentations about my experience. In that, telling about these extinct people and my experience with them, and I weave in all the profound teachings of the Native American way of life, because it has, you know, it's a way of life that was just so denigrated and almost totally destroyed, and has so much to teach us in our present, you know, dilemma that we find ourselves in, and, you know, with climate change and what we're doing to Mother Earth and everything like that. And people are hungry to hear this, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so these people, Spirit Walker, Michael, Bob Campbell, Sam, these people are constantly in my daily life, that I'm preparing for the talks, I'm talking, so they're always in the present with me. When I last saw Bob Campbell, as we said goodbye, this was just earlier this year at the film premiere, he said, well, see you in your dreams. And I said, yeah, you do that. And he said, yeah, I know. The experience, and these people are so with me all the time, and I'm so alive to them. It's quite interesting because, you know, there's only the now. We can only live in the present. But there's this huge ball of presentness that is the past and what's coming ahead of me, you know, all sort of rolled into one. Besides the Cynics themselves, there's probably no one thinks so much about them and has such an ongoing holding them as alive and non-extinct, if you see what I mean, than myself. I mean, it means the world to me. I'm in such a privileged and honoured position to be able to say that and to be able to do the things I now do here in England, where, you know, I see so totally why I had to come back to England, even though I thought I never would. It's to revitalise our own indigenous connection to the land, our own indigenous traditions. That's why I've come back, and that's what I'm doing with my husband, my English husband now. You know, it's just the Indians put me on the path. My time with the Indians was when I got onto the path. They gave me all the clues, if you will, armed me with the knowledge and the understandings of the connection with the web of life, our place in the web of life, our connection with nature, our relationship with nature, you know, our place in the order of creation. And they armed all of that, and now I can share that with people who need to hear this. They need to come back into balance, you know?
Yeah, in a huge way.
Yeah, and they know it. I was doing a talk just on Sunday in Bristol, and at the end of it, this guy came up to me. He said, you know, he says, I never talk to people very much, but I have to come and tell you. He said, I see spirits as white lights, and they're flashing around all over the place, all around you when you talk. And he said, your message should be broadcast to the whole Western world, what you're saying. And this is, and it's not me, it's Coyote, if you will, or it's the spirit of the whole Native American traditional way of life, you know, of that walking in balance, that being in harmony with the earth that's coming through, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I really try not to get, and I'm pretty sure I don't get tied up in any kind of egotistical trip with it, you know, because I would hate to be like that, because I was in the right place at the right time and happened to be the right person and happened to be open, you know, and I've made the commitment.
Yeah, and one wants to honor that in a good way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that brings us in a roundabout way, and you've mentioned it a few times, about the film premiere. So, what is the Fellowship of the Ring?
Oh, the Fellowship of the Ring is my jokey little story about how this film came into being miraculously. The book was published in 2006, and in 2007, just shortly after the book was published, so at the end of 2006, my first grandchild was due to be born at the same time as the book came out. And so I had to go over for the birth to Canada. She was in Gunn, my daughter. And I had to go over for the birth of my first grandchild. And I hadn't been back to Canada this whole time, 13 years. So it was kind of neat that my own virtual birth, the book, should be at the same time. So I thought I'd go back and visit some of the native people and give them a copy of the book. Say, thank you so much. You know, I owe so much to you, and you changed my life, and you put me on the great red road, and thank you and goodbye. And they all told me, by the way, I was going to write a book long before I even got started. and as luck would have it, I chanced across Sam, who offered to drive me around for the 2 weeks I would be there. I planned to get there 2 weeks early to try and visit people, but I had no idea how I would do this because I was on a really limited budget. But he offered to drive me around for a couple of weeks, and so we went down to the reservation and we saw everyone, and it synchronistically, how it happened, everybody happened to be home when I knocked on the door, so Indian time again, you know, everybody I wanted to see I saw, and it was fabulous. And then finally I'm staying at a friend's in Pass Creek, our famous and beloved Pass Creek. Decided to go into Nelson with Sam because the library's interested in a couple of copies. So I'd go and drop those off And I've always got a couple of spares with me. And so I thought I'd go drop in on a jeweler, Max Broby in Nelson, from whom I'd commissioned a ring for my English husband before I left Canada, my husband-to-be then. And it was in the shape of a henge, because he's very much into earth mysteries and earth energies and the megaliths of Britain. I thought I'd go back and visit Max just to say hi and tell him what a big success his ring has been, because it's so unusual and always gets commented on. And I knew he would remember his ring, his work, but I knew he wouldn't know me. He wouldn't remember me because he didn't know me apart from that. And so we went to see him. So he asks me what I'm doing in Canada now, and tell him I'm here for the birth of my grandchild. And he said, how are you doing? He says, oh, I'm back doing jewelry again. We moved abroad for a while. We lived in the Caribbean for a while. It didn't work out, so we've come back, and I'm back to jewelry making here. And now we've just put up a blue screen in our barn, and we're having a film studio there. We've just started making a film. At which point, something I would never have done, Sam dives into my bag, pulls out a copy of Coyote's Tale, thrusts it in Max's face, and says, this would make a great film. Brilliant, absolutely lovely. And Max has a little look at the book, buys one. We all go home. He knows where I'm staying, and as it happens, I'm staying at mutual friends. They are friends with Jane, the lady I'm staying with, who's a longtime friend of mine. That night, Max's wife calls me, and she said, yes, we're very interested in doing a film. Beautiful book, beautifully written. We love Frog Mountain. We really want to make a film. Can we talk to you? I said, well, I can really feel that my daughter is about to go into labor. I said, I just feel I've got to get to her. Something's going to be happening soon. I said, so I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Vernon with Sam. So they said, fine, and they came over and had breakfast with us, and the deal was done at breakfast. And we left and drove over Christina Lake because of this first snowfall. We had to go all the way around because Sam had no snow tires. And we got to Vernon, and that night my daughter went into labor, and my granddaughter was born the next day. I almost had the sense my granddaughter waited for me to finish all the things I needed to do. It was perfect. I'd seen everybody I wished to see, and then I could now stay with my daughter for a month and help her out, you know. But it was just almost like even the grandchild knew. And interestingly, my grandchild has Salish blood in her. Her father is a West Bank Okanagan, and also part Sarsi. She's half Sarsi and a quarter Sarsi, quarter Okanagan, which kind of tickles me pink. It's almost like I never married the native man, but my daughter did.
Yeah, yeah.